to work, and I'ma gauge my progress by the sign of the word. Now I ain't yet a success, but yes, the word that I stress, cause by the time you hear the CD, count the steps that I've left. I'm passing on.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. I don't know how it sounded, you know what I'm saying? But I felt it, right? Check it. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I have decided to rejoice and be glad in it. My name is Pablo Rivera, and this is another edition of Make It Happen Mondays. Yo, check this out. I was going through what songs I should sing and all that, you know what I mean? Or what raps I should rap, you know what I mean? I didn't really understand what I should do, right? And all of a sudden, I was talking about, I remember last week we was talking about mission, right? We were talking about vision, mission, goals, objectives, tasks, right? We were talking about all of that. And I was like, yo, I'm sitting here thinking about what I'm going to tell y'all today, right? And I was like, listen, it don't matter what tasks you're doing. It doesn't matter how much you are working. If you ain't got no vision, you walking around blind. And I was like, vision? Blind? I was blind. Now I can see. And I tell you, it hit me like the spirit. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go for mine. I'm going to go for mine. Now, I understand that Amazing Grace is not a song that should be taken lightly, right? And I'll be sitting here thinking sometimes like, yo, that person should not have sung that song. You know what I mean? But maybe I'm gonna fall into that category, you know what I mean? So whatever, right? But I did it, and I did it because I think it's got meaning, I think it's got purpose, I think all of that, right? So that's what it is, right? We're talking about vision, right? And I told you throughout the week that vision is what makes pain have purpose. You know what I mean? Is that we all going through some sort of pain. We all going through some sort of hardship, some sort of struggle, some sort of difficulty in our life, right? It might be self-imposed. It might be something that it is that we're going through due to something else, right? I never say outside of ourselves, because I believe in the internal locus of control, right? I believe that everything that happens in and around us, that we got the ability to be able to control that, right? So when I'm talking about vision, I'm talking about what it is that we can see, right, in our mind's eye, so that we can then actualize that and make it manifest itself in what it is that we saw, right? I talked about the I don't know, documentary, I almost called it a movie, right? But whatever, the video of The Secret, right? And people sit there and they write vision boards, and they post and picture things on top of that board, and they sit there and they be like, oh, I'm gonna get this mansion, and I'm sure you've heard the stories about the dude who put the mansion on his vision board when he was a kid, and then when he got older, he ended up going and buying a mansion, and it was the exact mansion that he ended up seeing when he was a kid, and he didn't even realize it until he went up and he was unpacking all of this stuff, and he unpacked the vision board, and there it is. I don't know if it's true or not, you know what I mean? But it makes a dope story, you know what I mean? And it definitely fits into what it is that we talk about when we're talking about vision, right? So I realized that, yes, that last week I gave y'all the mission, my mission statement, right? But I didn't start with the vision. And I feel like the vision is where it all needs to start from. You know what I mean? That's literally the power of your imagination, of where it is that you think you can see yourself. And what I say is it doesn't matter if you think you can see yourself there. Where would you like to be? You know what I'm saying? Is that, what is that vision that you have in your mind? And then let's go ahead and start working forwards in that. And making it a reality. You know what I mean? So the vision is a conceptual thing that you got, right? Is I want to do this, I want to do that. So let's talk about what vision is. Vision is only like a sentence or two, you know, that describes it. Yeah, and you might be like, oh, but my vision is super big. Okay, yeah, you know, maybe that's the vision. And if you want to go through and write a big, gigantic vision statement, go ahead, because it's really There ain't no real rules to this. There's general outlines, and that's what I'm trying to help you out with, is that general outline. But really, it's whatever it is that gets you to be able to visualize it, write it down and make it plain, and then start some a mission with some objectives and goals and all that, so that then you can make it happen, right? Make it happen. Watch me make it happen, so we can watch you make it happen, right? So I wanted to give you some examples of certain vision statements that businesses, organizations, whatever it is that they have, and then maybe we could take that type of thing and put it into our own lives, right? So, for example, Zoom, right? Especially since COVID, who doesn't know what Zoom is, right? Zoom's vision statement is communications empowering people to accomplish more. That's it. There ain't nothing more to that. It's just real quick. Communications empowering people to accomplish more. Lego. I like Lego. I told you I got 4 kids, you know what I mean? So Legos is like a big hit in this family, right? Legos is a global force of learning through play. That's what's up. You know what I mean? And think about it. Think about what Legos is, and think about what Legos have become, right? It ain't just the little squares no more. I mean, they got, I forget what it is, but the things that are motorized and all that stuff, right? We even watched I think there's a thing on Netflix about Legos. It was some competition. It's huge. And it 100% is a global force, because that's, you can't go nowhere and not know what Legos are. And it is learning through play, right? So I'll give you one more. Nike. Nike is, we see a world where everybody is an athlete, united in the joy of movement. There you go, right? Again, and I'm not trying to get into the political things about Nike, how some people like it, some people don't. I know that when I was a kid, I really wanted a pair of J's. You know what I mean? I didn't get them until I was a little older. But that's what it is, right? So again, vision, right? So those vision statements are where it starts. That's the main big gigantic vision. You know what I mean? Because how is it that you will become a global force in learning through play? How would you do that? There's really no direction there. It's just telling you the destination is that they wanted to be a global force in learning through play, right? So I wanted to take that a little bit further, right? And tell you some personal ones, right? Here's a personal one. Improving my decision making one decision at a time. Right? That's what's up, is that you want to have an improved decision-making process, and you're going to get there one decision at a time. And that may be closer to a mission statement. You know what I mean? For me, it's a little bit difficult to extrapolate. You like that? You can send me my 50 cents. I'll put my PayPal. I'm only kidding, right? But to be able to pull that from away from the mission, right? Because I start getting really specific, you know what I mean? But still, there's an example of one. To become more, to be a more confident and effective person. There's another one, right? And I like that one better, because I think that's more specific to a vision than it is anywhere near a mission, is that that's the destination, is being a more confident and effective person, right? So here's mine, and I talk a lot, right? So just like I talk a lot, I end up writing more of my thing, right? So my most recent vision statement is to be better than yesterday by being the change I would like to see in the world, providing a living example of perpetuating positivity, benefiting others, and that I may be in that number when the saints go marching in, right? That's my vision statement. And maybe it's a run-on sentence, right? But I'm not talking about grammar here. I guess I could have taken that and put it in Grammarly or ChatGPT or something like that, right? But I didn't. That's just what it is. That was my vision, and that's the way it came out. And I want y'all to remember that too. Think about, that's a message that I just said right there. It don't need to be perfect. This is for you, right? You ain't gonna sit there and send it in and give it to somebody and have them grade you on it and all that, right? So write it down, make it plain. So I wanted to tell you a little bit of the difference between mission, vision, some more. I just gave you examples, right? But now I'm going to tell you a little bit more, like literally I Googled it and I said, let me give them some real substance here so that I can actually separate the difference between mission and vision. And then I'm going to add one more piece in there as we continue to go through those goals, objectives, and tasks. I'm going to give you one more piece, right? So mission statement, that defines what it is that you do, who you do it for, how you do it, and why it matters, right? So I'm not going to go through, because my mission statement was pretty long, but if you want to, just go back to last week and you can play it again, right? And hear exactly what my mission statement is. And in that mission, you will see that I have defined what I do, that I define who I do it for. You will see how that I plan on doing it and how I've been doing it and why it matters to me. You know what I'm saying? So you'll see that. The vision statement. It outlines your long-term goals and the impact of achieving that mission, right? So to go back and be a global force of learning through play, I don't know if that necessarily gives the impact of achieving that mission, but I think you can kind of see it within it, right? Learning. What's the impact? Is that the world is going to learn. So it doesn't need to be as explicit. It can be a little bit implicit, right? So, all right, how do we go about doing this? I'm going to skip that third thing that I told you about, right? That I got another little piece in there that you got to take into consideration through all of this. But let me go through it. Again, through my in the motivational moments I've had through this week, I talked to you about tasks. And I asked if you was having difficulties coming up with a mission statement or a vision statement to just look at what it is that you're doing through the day. Any task that you happen to do, whether if it's every day, whether if it's, every once in a while, every other day, whatever. But anything that you're doing, tell you the truth, it can be literally every one thing you do, even if you're doing it once, right? Is you can ask yourself the 5 whys, right? Here we go. So my task is to post a motivational post every day, right? Or at least every other day, okay? I generally don't do it on Sundays because I'm usually recording these and whatnot. So my task, post a motivational post. Why? Well, because I want to perpetuate positivity. Why? Because that was part of my mission and my vision. All right, cool. I only had to ask 2 whys and I was able to extrapolate that, to expand upon that and create it as part of my mission and my vision, right? That one was easy. Let's go a little bit more. My task is to help coach my daughter's jiu-jitsu class, right? Now, truth be told, I'm a white belt still. I told you I just started, you know what I mean? But I'm in there. And there's so many reasons why that I'm doing that. But let's go through it. So help coach my daughter's jiu-jitsu class. Why? Well, to help others while they're still young, specifically my daughter. They sit there and they say that the impact that a father has specifically in a girl's life when they little, I mean, the impact is gigantic, right? I want to sit there and be like, it's better impact than mom's, but my wife is amazing, and the impact that she's having on my daughter's life is ridiculous. You know what I mean? And I'm blessed for it. But specifically for me, as I heard that about, the impact that a father has on a daughter's life, and I want to make sure that I'm that. I want to make sure that I'm that times 10, right? And then and other young people as well, right? That was my why for that. And that is a huge why. You think right there, you good to go. But why? Well, because I believe that if they can see and hear an example of a positive force in their life, they're more likely to grow up with a positive mindset as well. Great. Why? Because I'm trying to be that change that I want to see in the world. Why? Well, because that last piece is part of my vision. Cool. Alignment. You see what I'm saying? All right, let's keep going. Let's see. Anyways, so for all, I got some more examples on there, but I feel like I'll be keeping you on here for like a half hour every Monday, and I'm trying to be able to give you some tidbits of information and go, right? So with every task that you have, try to draw that line directly to your vision with the 5 whys. And look at the 5 whys. Again, we talking about an outline. It can be 6, 7 whys, right? But you want to get all the way back to the meat and potatoes of the whole thing so that you know really why it is that you're doing it. All right. The other thing that I would suggest, again, this is a work in progress, man. If I showed you all the mission statements that I had and all the vision statements that I had, all the goals that I've had, all the objectives that I've had, and all the tasks that go along with it, you'll be like, yo, you just got a moving target. Why is that? Yeah, I got a moving target. I'm always trying to be better. I'm always me, to quote my daughter, right? Be yourself. I'm always me, but I'm always trying to be better. And I'm looking left and right. I look at positive things that other people have, characteristics or where they are in life or different experiences that they had. And if I feel like that's a positive, I try to do it myself. I try to gain it within myself. So much so that sometimes when I see other people's successes and they don't have what I have, I'm like, how did you do that? And sometimes that could come across like I'm sitting there trying to knock somebody down. I'm not. I'm looking at the plank in my eye rather than looking at the speck in somebody else's. But it's the speck in somebody else's that caused me to reflect and realize that plank in my eye. So then I start trying to look and be like, how do I do that? How can I achieve what it is that they've achieved, even though they haven't necessarily put in certain parts of the groundwork that I have? I recognize that there's other parts of the groundwork that they probably put in. So I'm always trying to get that edge. You know what I'm saying? But what you want to be able to do, my suggestion, is not come up with objectives that have specific results tied to the end of it, right? Is I want to lose 25 pounds. Okay, cool, gotcha. I want to, whatever it is. So let me give you some examples again of some goals that aren't necessarily results oriented, right? Being a team. Right? Now, you can sit there and say, oh, well, that's results oriented. But I mean, being a team isn't necessarily a one-time thing. Being a team takes work. It's cultivating that team. It's enriching that team. It's bringing value to the team, not just yourself, but creating and providing the environment so that others can bring value to that team. Work every day to kill a game, right? Work every day. Work every day. There ain't no result there. I mean, yeah, there's an intrinsic result that's coming with working every day, right? Hard work pays off, right? But there's no specific ending point to working hard every day, right? And if that's an objective of yours, well, man, you can keep that objective forever. I may actually steal both of those because I got those from a podcast I was listening to last week, right? Be responsible for my own self-determination. I always tell you about that because I got this internal locus of control, is that I feel like no matter what it is that happens, I have the personal responsibility, ability, and responsibility to be able to form that, whether if it's changing what I don't like that happen or creating the future state of what it is that I want to have happen. And then the last one I heard was be a champion. And what is it that's being a champion, right? I was talking to my son the other day and I told him, I said, what's the most difficult spot to be in if you, as far as being the greatest, the worst, just starting, whatever. Specifically, we was talking about jiu-jitsu, and I was like, I'm a white belt and I love being a white belt. Now, people are sitting there like, oh, did you used to wrestle or did you do this before in the past? And I'm like, yeah, honestly, when I was young, when I was from third grade to ninth grade, I was on the wrestling team. So I got a little something, right? I wasn't the greatest of all time, but I got a little experience, you know what I mean? And then when I dislocated my shoulder, and then instead of coming back to wrestling, I ended up doing judo. And I did judo for a number of years, even after I got out of high school, right? But again, that was like high school time. Even I forget how many years after high school I did it, right? But it was right after high school time. I'm 46 years old right now. So we talking at least 20 something years that I ain't done none of that, right? I did a little spurt in boxing here and there, but I would never say that it was maybe less than a year, maybe a year, something like that, right? But it wasn't like I'm a boxer now, you know what I mean? Like best thing I could do is move out the way, right? But anyways, so be a champion. What is the most dangerous, what is the most difficult belt to have, right? Is, I believe, the black belt. The most difficult belt to get first is the white belt. But the most difficult belt to have is that black belt. Why? And listen, this is very one-sided because I'm not a black belt. I ain't nowhere near a black belt. So as I progress, right, if I become a black belt, I might tell you something different. But from my perspective, from wherever it is that I see, right, and I get it, I got blinders on. But for me, the most difficult one is the black belt. You want to know why? Because everybody's going to get you. If you get some dude who walks in, he's going to look at the black belt if he thinks he's somebody, and he's going to want to go after him. Ain't nobody walking into a jiu-jitsu class and looking at a low-level white belt talking about, oh, yeah, let's see what's up with him. It's not happening. You know what I mean? So that's why I feel like, once you get over that, again, the most difficult belt to first get is the white belt, right? Because you got to go in there not knowing anything, realizing that you're going to get choked out. You're going to have to tap out because somebody's trying to break your elbow, right? Or your knee or your ankle or something like that. You know, especially if you've grown, right? It's better when you go in as a kid. But if you go in as a grown man, you got certain machismo things inside of your mind and your body like, oh, yeah, if I was to see him outside, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you got somebody who's like half your size, whatever, and tossing you and wrapping you up like a pretzel. And you're like, what happened? You know what I mean? Is that all that's just got to go out the door? So again, but nobody's in there trying to murder me. You know what I mean? Nobody, even if you do got some sort of an attitude, you're not going in there and trying to bury a white belt. You're like, what are you doing, man? It don't make sense. The most difficult is to be the champion, right? Is to be that dude on top. And maybe, I guess I'm using a different analogy. It shouldn't be black belt. It should be the number one in tournaments or something like that, right? But I think you understand the story I was saying. And my son understood it, so hopefully you do too. And maybe I got to come back to this next week or something. But when you're on top, that's where people want to get at you, because everybody wants to, not everybody, but most people want to be that top position. They want to be number one. And if you're number one, you need to get out that spot if somebody else is trying to get in it, right? And who are you to want to get out of that spot? You earn that spot. So you fighting to keep it, and everybody's trying to take it from you. So being a champion, that's not necessarily a results-oriented objective, even though you may think it is, because you're like, well, when I get champion, I got it. No, is you got to maintain that in order to be able to call yourself the champion, right? So try not to choose or create results-oriented objectives. So now from that, you can create goals from those objectives, right? Because if you want to be, let's just use that one since we're rolling with it, being a champion. So what's the goal? Well, perhaps a goal. You don't need a black belt to be a champion, right? I can enter a tournament right now as a white belt and I can win first place, right? Hopefully that happens when I decide to join a tournament or something, right? But one objective would be to get into a tournament, right? Because you ain't going to win nothing until you can get into the tournament, right? Until you put yourself in a position to win. So that can be an objective, right? That can be a goal that will satisfy the objective. Another goal would be to then place, right? Who cares if it's first, second, or third, but then to place in a tournament, right? There's another goal. The next goal, place in first place. Now all of a sudden you starting your way onto a champion. At least you was a champion that day, and now you got part of your goal. You're starting to part of your objective because you're starting to take these actionable steps, right? Goals to be able to reach that objective, right? But now how is it that you're going to? So now you got vision, you got mission, you got objectives, and now you created goals. So how are you going to get those goals? How are you going to do that? Well, the way you're going to reach those goals is you're going to create some tasks. So I want to get into a tournament. Well, I got to find out where there's a tournament, when there's a tournament. I got to sign up for the tournament. I got to show up for the tournament. You darn sure better be practicing as hard as you can and as much as you can with, recovery time and all that. Listen to your coach, so that you can get there, right? All of those things is just for one goal, which is going to be part of that objective. You know what I mean? And those were all the tasks that I was talking about. So the one extra piece that I didn't get to tell you last week, and I've been holding off this week to tell you, is your values. You got to make sure that whatever it is that you're doing, that it's if your vision, your mission, your goal, your objectives, your goals, your tasks, whatever it is, you need to make sure that they are being guided by your values. What are values? Guiding principles and beliefs that your brand, who you are, embodies, right? So people already know it's funny. People come and talk to me and they tell me some crazy stories about people, things that are going on in other people's lives, right? And they're like, so Pablo, show me the silver lining around that one. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's a little unfair, but I get it. It's not unfair, right? Because without saying it, people are looking to see if my values are still strong. And I believe that there is something positive that happens out of anything, right? It's just another way of saying there's around every dark cloud, there's a silver lining. And there is, right? I told you before in the military, something like find the good, right? You got to do that when things are good. Even when you just splashed in a pool of goodness, acknowledge what that goodness is. Because I'm telling you, as things start to get worse, when things start to get more difficult, when you start being tested, when you are going through adversity, it's a whole lot more difficult to be able to find out the good, to be able to look and see the good. People end up having a perpetual, they got resting something face, right? People end up having perpetual negative thoughts all the time. And I believe it's some kind of disease, man, or some sort of mental thing. And again, maybe I'm talking a little bit too strong about it, but that's the way I look at it because I don't want that. And honestly, I don't want that for you. I don't want it for anybody. So whenever it is that you encounter a situation, and I know that other people's situations are worse and maybe yours is worse, and maybe you're like, there just is no good in this. Hey, reach out, right? There is always good in every situation, and we just got to be able to find it. And that good might be small. That might be so small, right? But the faith of a mustard seed can move mountains, right? So the ability to acknowledge and to be able to see that little bit of good that can move mountains within your feelings, your character. It can move mountains, and it can be part of your value system if you work on it. That's all I got right now, right? So I was talking about it. I think we were able to wrap it all together. If I think of some more, then we'll continue this next week, right? But for now, it's about that vision. If you haven't done it, make sure you do that. You got vision, objectives, goals, tasks. Make sure all of it is embodied within your value system. And if you don't got a value system, well, maybe we need to start there is figuring out what it is that our values are, right? So now you got it. Make sure that they all align. And here's a little quote that I want to leave you with. Whenever you compromise your values, you compromise yourself. So be true to yourself. And like my daughter Daisha always says, be yourself, because you're amazing. That's my show. Listen, until next time, my name is Pablo Rivera. And this is another edition of Make It Happen
And I'ma
Monday.
get progress by the sign of the word. Now I ain't yet a success, but yes, the word that I stress. Cause by the time you hear the CD, count the steps that I've left. I'm passing all of you.